welcome to this week's edition of Maison Journals. We are in August 2021 and we are finally able to visit a house in France that we haven't seen. So I've got a short timeline of events for you, documenting that first visit, and I'll come back to you throughout the video. So we got all packed up with absolutely everything for the 9.5-hour journey, which actually took 12 hours in the end. We only managed to take one of our dogs because we couldn't fit the others in. The AHC certificate was completely smooth and there was no problems. The journey, however, was a little bit difficult because COVID pass had been introduced just a few days prior and we didn't have that, so we couldn't stop at any shops or restaurants or go inside. The builder, as agreed, met us at the property. He'd been working there for 6 weeks prior. So he took us around, he showed us around the grounds first. This is a video when we first got there. This is the wall that surrounds the building, there's the house there. And at first sight, all I really wanted to do was remove the ivy. And already I was starting to feel really overwhelmed by the size of the property. We did exactly what a lot of people advise not to do, which is not to buy a property with too much land. This had 12 acres. A lot of it is forest land, but even so, to try and maintain this point, I just kind of felt it was going to be impossible. It's a little door there going into the garden. It was a beautiful August day. The sun was shining, the sky was blue, the birds were singing. It was really wonderful. This is just the lane that we're on. There's just a couple of houses there. And this is the back. It's the back of the front garden. And just the neighbouring cottages. We then went to have a walk around the rest of the land, or part of it. We went into the forest, pine forest, which smelt beautiful, but again, like all of the grounds, had not had work done for many, many years, and actually at this point wouldn't know where to start. There's 3 beautiful sequoias, and in comparison to the garden that we had in London, 50 foot just was really quite overwhelming, as I said. We started to unpack. The fridge that the owners had left was full of towels and sponges and actually wasn't a fridge. Despite the builder's best efforts to clean the house out of all the contents, there was still a huge amount of personal things left by the previous owners. This is the room that we decided to stay in simply because it was the clearest room. The bed, I went to make the bed and there was mouse holes. But I kept reminding myself that it was a beautiful location and it was early days. And this view from the kitchen window is so beautiful. I became slightly obsessed with, despite everything that needed to be doing, painting the gates and the railings, but it was quite clear that this job was not going to be done for several years. So I had to pack my paints away. The cupboards were full of contents. The shutters were beautiful, original, but there was some rather shocking rusty metal replacements. Again, another really big job. The kitchen really wasn't usable. There was no gas connection, and in hindsight we probably would have been better had we bought a tent and camped inside it in the house. So we sat on the terrace that night and made an urgent call to the builder for help. He turned up the next day and we had a long chat. So the builder came over, we spoke for what felt like forever, and we went through some options, and at this point I just wanted to go home. I was completely overwhelmed. It was complete polar opposites to what I was used to. We couldn't go home because we needed a COVID pass to get back into the UK, and we couldn't get one of those for 10 days. We also had the dog with us, and he needed a vaccine to get back into the UK, so that was not an option. And also there was very limited Eurostars back to the UK, the Eurotunnel, so it actually wasn't an option just to drive home, and I'm so glad we didn't. My first reaction was, I've taken on way too much here, I can't do this, it's too big. We spoke about selling the house. An option was to just tidy it up, paint it and sell it, but we had been searching for a property like this for several years. We finally found it. So we decided to stay for 2 weeks, get used to the area, just take it all in. We hadn't slept for a couple of days, we'd had a long journey, and it was just also overwhelming. So the builder, who has lived in France for a long time, is very familiar with the area, and who has been a superstar, and so patient with us from day one. We are so lucky to have him. He found us a gîte to stay in, not in our village, but relatively close by. We stayed in the gîte and went back to the house each day just to kind of get used to it and talk about plans and what we could actually do. So this is the village in the gîte that we stayed in that area. It was a beautiful village and we enjoyed a few days there. We also got to know our village. This is the beautiful Chambre d'Hôte there, Villa Vallière, and beautiful local brocante as well. So that was our first trip. Would we have bought the house had we viewed it first? Absolutely not. We would not have had the courage to take it on. So we do not regret it for a minute, and we feel very blessed to be able to do this. So I'll do a short update each week of where we are. I hope you enjoyed this week.